In the words of the devs, HumanitZ is an isometric, open-world sandbox survival game set in a world ended by a zombie outbreak. It enables you to survive alone or with friends by scavenging, crafting, building, and fighting to last as long as humanly possible. In this video, I jump into HumanitZ, see what it's like, what it does well, what it does less well, and then whether I think it could be worth picking up and playing, or if it's best to give it a miss. Let's get into it. HumanitZ is currently listed on Steam for £15.49 or $19.99 US, which is its full retail price. However, according to SteamDB, it has been as low as £9.29 or $11.99 when on sale. Whilst it's billed as being an open-world zombie survival game, it actually offers more than that. There's a couple of different modes you can play, survival or scenario. Survival is its open-world sandbox element. This is where you spawn into the world, loot, craft, build, and fight through the apocalypse. And then there's the scenario mode, where you're dropped into one of the two existing scenarios, with another seemingly on the way. Swamp survival is a constant stream of zombies you need to fight against to survive, and then wave survival is exactly what it says on the tin. You have to defend your neighbourhood from waves of zombies. These modes, especially the wave survival, are good fun, and I'd imagine would be a good bit of fun with friends. It's pretty fast-paced, and is a fun antidote to what can sometimes be a bit of a slower life during the apocalypse in traditional zombie survival games. In addition to scenarios, there's also a tutorial, which has done an excellent job of covering all of the essentials in terms of mechanics and different aspects of the game. This starts off showing you the most basic aspects, such as how to move your character and engage in simple combat, to fixing up vehicles, explaining the effects of the infection, how to build in the game, how to use different weapons, and also how to deal with winter. It really is a comprehensive tutorial which, if you're new to the genre or just new to HumanitZ, is definitely worth jumping into if you want to know more about mechanics without jumping in and repeatedly dying, like I did. Then there's the survival mode, and this is what we see more of traditionally in the zombie survival genre. This mode is pure survival in every sense. You have to loot, manage inventory, build up base defences, move around the map exploring, all whilst trying to stay alive and not succumb to some enthusiastic Zeeks, or indeed the infection. Zeeks being the HumanitZ equivalent of zombies. Helpfully though, there are some preset difficulty options here which dutifully explain the type of experience you can expect. These difficulties vary from Rookie, where you'll keep the stuff that's on you when you die, there's airdrops every day, the default number of Zeeks, reduced bandit damage, and more generous loot settings, to Nightmare, where loot is scarce, airdrops are weekly, there's a high number of Zeeks, bandits are nightmarishly difficult, and Zeeks too are incredibly hard to kill. From my playtesting, I tended to spend most of my time in Hardcore, which has permadeath enabled, or a little bit of it was spent in True Survivor, which is slightly kinder with permadeath turned off. There is also custom settings, where if you're so inclined, you can customize your own apocalypse, and there is a huge number of settings here as you'd expect, but equally the devs have also done a good job in my view of not making it too overwhelming either. One disappointment for me here is that it would have been nice to have been able to set a pre-select and then customize it, rather than having to start from scratch when customizing your own apocalypse. When you click into a new survival game, you get to choose your character from any pre-selects you have, and can also choose a profession. There's a wide range to choose from here, and you can see the breakdown of what each profession gives you ahead of jumping in. Then, if you like more of a challenge, you can choose an Affliction, which is a weakness, in essence, that makes your character have some sort of negative perk, such as lower stamina, be a Zeke magnet, increase the speed of blood loss, and many more. If you're feeling full-on masochistic, you can choose Random Affliction, and see what the gaming gods want you to suffer with. For me, whilst the character creation isn't as deep as we've seen in other titles, such as Project Zomboid, it enables an easier starting point for players, and in my view does a pretty good job of making you feel as if you at least have some control over how your apocalypse begins. Another element that feeds into this is the spawn selection screen. HumanitZ has a huge open world map with loads of areas to explore. But before you even get into the world, you get a choice over where you start. These range from starter spawn, where you have everything you need to begin surviving, with limited numbers of Zeeks to worry about, to the likes of the Hudson City spawn, where you're right into the thick of the action with lots and lots of zombies. I love the variation in the map. The devs, you can tell, have put a lot of work into making a world that feels alive, and the experience is different if you spawn into the city rather than if you spawn into the middle of the countryside, as it should be. It rewards exploration and decision-making, and dependent on the difficulty you choose, it can be incredibly rewarding to aim to hit a certain looting spot, get in there and get out with what you need. Whilst this is an Unreal Engine game, it doesn't feel like one that's been created with minimal effort. You can tell the work that's been put in, and it pays off. Yes, there's some general non-developer created assets in the game, but it plays like it's its own game. It's unmistakably HumanitZ. As well as world design, there's variance in zombies. There's slow shamblers, there's quick runners, there's larger Zeeks that take more hits to kill, there's athletic zombies that sprint after you and that are stronger, and there's some with green noxious gas emanating from them. But they're all a threat. Weapon choice matters, timing is important in your encounters with them. The approach to the infection is different in HumanitZ too. The zombie infection cannot be cured per se, but you can treat it and lessen it. The zombie infection doesn't have to be the end of your run, as it is in other zombie survival games, so that makes fighting the undead slightly less risky, but they absolutely can still kill you if you mistime your attacks. Naturally, when you create an isometric zombie game, it's going to draw some comparisons to Project Zomboid, but they are different games. Project Zomboid has a depth unlike what most of the genre has seen, but sometimes as a result of the depth and the punishing nature of it, it can turn some people away. This is where I think HumanitZ does really well. It has detail, it has a wide array of mechanics and systems, and it does have depth, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. There are some things, though, which feel a little like missed opportunities, or things I wish could be slightly different, so let's have a look at a few of those downsides now. It feels to me like you have to interact with the building aspects of the game, which is a bit of a shame. I think mechanics like building are great, but prefer them to be optional. I'd love to be able to walk into a ruinous house that already has a bed and go to sleep, rather than having to build one for me to sleep in. I'm also someone who enjoys being a bit of a nomad in these games at times, and whilst crafting a bed doesn't feel like a huge thing, there's already one there. Why can't I use it? The little tutorial objectives that come up when you start a run are also a welcome little addition, and help the first few times you load in. Additionally, these can be turned off. I just wish that they adapted to what you're carrying. I started off as a firefighter with an axe, but still had to make a stone axe, for example. It also feels like a bit of a shame that there's a lack of consistency in some of the furniture in the world. Some containers are lootable, but others of the same type aren't. I walk into the kitchen and can loot some of the cabinets, but not all of them. It sounds minor, but for me it can feel a little immersion breaking at times, and can take away a little bit of the glee or excitement of breaking in when maybe in some houses there's as little as 4 or 5 lootable containers. There's also some other inconsistencies in the world. There's cars you can fix up and use, which are also lootable. Then there's cars you can't fix up or use, which are lootable. Then there's wrecks. Wrecks are great for scrap metal. But it feels like I should be able to scrap any car, or at least that I can scrap any cars which aren't usable as cars, but this isn't the case here. It's the same with tents, for example, where sometimes a tent can be destroyed to get a tarp for rain collectors, and then other times you can't destroy it for some reason. This can make base construction a little frustrating when you find an ideal location, but for some reason can't destroy the tent or the car or the rubble heap that's ruining your aesthetic. Or you can't move the toolbox that's now floating because it was sat on the dining table you destroyed. Another couple of tiny gripes are that I can't pick up a backpack unless I carry it and replace the backpack I'm using. So if I wanted to collect backpacks or take a spare backpack to a friend, I can't. And another small one is that I see a zombie wearing something cool, perhaps a hazmat suit, but after killing them I can't take it because their clothing isn't lootable. Slightly more frustrating is that I can't loot their clothing to rip up and use as bandages when I'm in dire need, and have to either get lucky looting to find some rags or clothing to rip up, or have to take to breaking bushes for plant fibre and crafting rags that way. I appreciate some of these things are minor, but when it comes to a survival sandbox, choice is really important, and it feels like a bit of an own goal that some of these choices are taken away. Enough with the negativity though, let's talk about some of the other things HumanitZ does really well, and then I'll conclude and tell you whether I think it's worth a buy. One thing I was in awe of was the way in which your character behaves. It's the small touches that really help with immersion. I thought I could hear a dog panting nearby, but no, it was my character shivering because it was cold. My clothes had visible rips and tears in them after I'd been in a few Zeke's fights. The way my character picks up a bottle or an apple and takes a swig or takes a bite, these tiny things are just really cool to see, and they add that extra little touch of feeling like you're a real person. When you're injured, low in health, you have your arm across your abdomen and walk slowly, whilst grunting in pain. One minor thing that brought me more joy than perhaps it should have was that when I needed to get something out of my rucksack in my inventory, the character model takes the backpack off, puts it on the floor, and starts going through it. That was pretty cool to see and makes me smile every time I need to find something. Another thing that I think works well is stealth. You can sneak up on Zeeks, crouching behind them with trepidation, eking forwards until you hit the takedown button, and then you take them down from behind without them even knowing it was coming. This is so rewarding when you get it right. Sneaking around feels less like a lottery and more like a rewarding, stealth-focused endeavour, where you can stay out of view and nudge yourself around obstacles so as to not alert the undead. The satisfaction of executing an attack on a Zeke perfectly, and then they fall to the ground on their backside and look up to you as if they're asking for some sort of mercy, and then you click V and kick them in the face with a lethal amount of force. That brought way too much joy than it probably should have. Or then there's the moment you find a friendly NPC and, because you're low on health and ideas, decide to whistle until zombies in the vicinity come so that your newly acquired friend can take care of them. There's much to like about HumanitZ. It isn't perfect, no game is. It also takes time to adjust to the isometric view, which may not be to everyone's taste. It's definitely an adjustment. Realizing that your mouse moves your view around via the middle mouse button can take some time to get used to, as can the realization that your cursor doesn't move left or right, but that it moves vertically, is different to any other game I think I've played too. There's also times when it being isometric can be frustrating. If you're trying to fight in tree cover, this comes with more danger. Or when you're in buildings, you suddenly have to deal with the fact that everything suddenly feels closer. Combat takes time to master. I found that moving my character forward to engage and then back straight away after each strike worked well. But it does take some getting used to. Driving as well, it takes some time to get used to how the cameras operate when you're using a vehicle. Ultimately though, for 15 quid or just shy of 20 bucks, HumanitZ falls into the buy category for me. It's a fun, engaging, well thought out for the most part, zombie survival game that I found really fun to play, and I'm sure would be a blast with friends too. It's one I'm keeping on my roster, and one I'll be returning to for sure. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Please do like and subscribe if so, and let me know down below what you thought of HumanitZ. See you on Monday for my Vain Let's Play series, and on Wednesday for another zombie smashing video. Catch you later.